Warning! This video discusses events of the patch 6.55, so do make sure to enjoy the story for yourself first. Welcome, fellow story enjoyers! In the post-End Walker story, from 6.1 and until 6.5, we have been fully committed to the crisis involving the 13th. That left an extremely short amount of time to prepare us for the next adventures in Dawn Trail. 6.55 gave us only 3 quests introducing the new storyline. It does feel like very little at first, but these quests do give us some interesting information, mainly through the new central character and the very first female Hrothgar in the game, Wuk Lamat. And I'll be honest with you, when I first saw her I got a real strong Moonbreeder vibes, and my first question was, is Wuk Lamat going to be a similar type of character? And I will answer that right away, no, of course not, obviously. Still, it made me think. On the surface level they do feel similar. Just visually, they both use axes, making an impression as strong and capable fighters. And even with racial differences, we know that Rogadin is a race with big bulky males and tall strong females, and now that we've seen female Hrothgars, we can tell that they basically got the same thing going. Wuk Lamat also seems to have a confident, active and boisterous personality, which is made even more obvious in comparison to a more quiet and level-headed childhood friend, in this case Erenville. This feels like an intentional parallel to how Moonbreeder was introduced with her relation to Urianger. I mean, her presence was so strong that she has forever ruined other women for Urianger, and now he's only able to hang out with Tancred. But that's where the similarities end, because I don't need to tell you about Moonbreeder. We all remember her. She was strong, she was an accomplished Archon, she used white Auracite to fight Ascians, and she did not hesitate to sacrifice herself in the fight. We knew her only for a short time, and we still miss her. And Wuk Lamat is definitely not all that. Of course, she seems to be a capable warrior and skilled hunter in her own right. There was a part in the fight with the giant Calibri where she escaped the slime first and pulled us and Graha to safety, so we know she is strong. However, after the fight you see her being visibly shaken. While this type of fight is just a regular Tuesday for us, she was nervous, both with the fight and with keeping up the appearance of strength and confidence. And not just after the fight. The giant Calibri is basically a huge parrot, which will repeat your own words back to you. And this is a very nice writing right there, because it's the kind of enemy that just mindlessly talks back to you, and during the fight you could see Wuk Lamat being more and more annoyed with it. Even though she would know that it's just a mindless repetition, she clearly loses her composure. What did she say before? Hunting together is the best way to get to know someone? She was actually spot on, but while she meant it as a test for us, it turned out to be a test for her, so we got to know her better. Points to Graha, by the way, who saw her condition after and made sure to provide some reassurance. A bit of a side note here, but did you notice how good Graha is in this story? Not only does he support Wuk Lamat in her time of weakness, he also takes time to provide level-headed advice to the Warrior of Light, and he also steps away and promises to keep things safe at home just so Krile can go and have adventure with us. One of the more prominent character traits of Graha is that he is always eager to go on adventure with us. That's what he has been dreaming about for a long time. But here he recognizes that same longing in Krile and steps aside for her sake. Now, I am sure he will join us eventually to get that taco, but in the meantime, that was a mighty fine gesture from him. Back to Wuk Lamat. We can combine what we saw during the fight with what she tells us. Her adoptive father is a great leader who has unified the continent. She also has at least 2 older brothers, and we know that one is a scholar. And I can imagine that that puts a lot of pressure on her to try and achieve greatness, worthy of her family name. So she tries to act and talk big, but she is not really quite there yet. And that reflects on her bid to rule Tural. For now we only know what she told us, but she claims that there are 4 candidates in the contest. One is seen by her as the worst choice, as that one would send the unified Tural to war. So from that we can identify one faction as militarist and bad. Wuk Lamat wants to win to prevent that faction from gaining power, so we can call her traditionalist, as she wants to keep the current Tural as built by her father, which is not a bad motivation, but it's also not exactly a good motivation for a ruler. This is why I personally would rather not get involved in politics. Politics are messy. If Wuk Lamat gets to win, what is her plan for Tural? I don't think she herself has a really clear idea of that right now, as her goal is not to rule, but to specifically prevent someone else from ruling. And we have no idea about the other 2 candidates. Maybe one of them is better for Tural, maybe not. Maybe they are as bad as the militarist faction. Right now we do not know, which is why we will go and see for ourselves. From all that I can see a lot of possibilities for Wuk Lamat. It is obvious that she needs to grow as a person, and I expect that that will be a big part of the Dawn Trail story. Maybe she will become a good ruler, worthy of her father. Maybe she would step down, realizing that she is not ready yet, or that she has no real desire to rule. Maybe something else will happen. I am sure whatever it would be, the journey will be quite interesting. And right now, I can say that I actually rather like Wuk Lamat, and the way she is presented in this short time. She has strengths, and she has obvious flaws, and most importantly, we can see many possibilities of how she can develop further as a character. She is not perfect, and she has potential. That is a sign of good writing, and I will gladly take this as a sign of what we can expect in the new expansion.